So today I quipped to my husband while looking at the massive dishes in our kitchen and said, why don't we just throw all this out? Just throw all the pots and pans away, throw everything that we have just taking up space in the garbage and start over. My husband, of course, did not go for this plan and reminded me that we cannot throw out everything we own, that we should probably just wash the dishes and throw them away. But that led me onto a conversation in my own head thinking, okay, well, maybe I could throw away some things or rehome some things that we aren't using to make more space. So I'm probably going to do that. It is a never-ending clutter fest over here. So, maybe I should do a video cleaning out my kitchen so that I'll actually do it. I don't know, that'd be miserable. I don't think anybody wants to watch me just declutter my kitchen. But today I want to talk about pretty much this topic, but shopping, consumption, hauls, TikTok, all of the normal. Hey, Caitlin Pawlowski. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right, girl. I am so sorry if not. I've been following her for a while. I love her content. She has 95,000 subscribers. Truly an amazing human, in my opinion. She put out a video called The Underconsumptioncore Social Media Fantasy: How Influencers Are Manufacturing Simple Living. And I suggest that video, and I will be linking that down below. I do want to talk about underconsumption core and minimalism because they are things that I have touched on in the past. More recently, I've talked about shopping and about, in general, consumption. Now, I will say I am by far a minimalist. Actually, my house looks more like an episode of Hoarders than it would minimalist. And I do think that there is some ground in the middle where regular everyday people are going to find themselves. But what I have a problem with is when we have all these videos on TikTok, and maybe I'll put one up on the screen, I'm not sure, but all these videos where people are saying things like, oh, you know, you don't need more than two bed sheets. You don't need more than four cups. It's like, yes, I do. Okay, girl. Yes, I do. I don't do laundry to wash like one sheet at a time. We have two beds, so I'll wash both at once. So four minimum, God. And then what if one gets ripped? I always have at least four. So yeah, that just is something that I have a problem with. But I do want to say that as someone who has struggled with shopping addiction, with also falling into these places of watching content by content creators who will talk about their shopping hauls, like Kiki Chanel. I love that girl, but oh my God, she shops a lot. I'm not a huge fan of creators that use deceptive marketing tips and don't show their ads. So people like Michaela Noguera and stuff like that, I am not a huge fan of because I think there are a lot of influencers and they are showing these absurd lives and these beauty hauls and everything. And when I think of beauty, I think of products that A, give me joy, that I can use as artistic expression, or since I have a sensory disorder, eczema, and a lot of allergies, I personally use those products in ways that are good for me. So it'll be like part of self-care, calming down, making sure these products are good for my skin instead of harmful, stuff like that. So I think my main opinion on all of this content, and of course, this is not therapy, this is not a replacement for your own therapist, but I would say that most of these problems, the things we think we want to buy, the feelings we feel when buying, those are internal. We have external factors and social cues to buy and to belong and be part of the group. But those cues are enacting something inside of us. So if we're seeing our peers have a zillion different mascaras or 20 lipsticks, maybe we'll want that too. I mean, God, I have over 20 lipsticks, but I've actually never had an influencer influence any of the brands I'm wearing to me, probably because I don't watch TikTok. I have misophonia, and the sounds of the restocking videos and the tapping and everything, those are absolute hell for me. And if you want more information of that, if you want more information on misophonia, you can go to misophoniainternational.com. So I do think that there is a huge pressure from these cultural messages that people are getting on TikTok where they're doing restocks. Come with me and restock my mini fridge with only pink drinks, which, yeah, that looks cute. And you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I am influenced by these aesthetic things. I'm a designer, I'm an artist. I like pretty things, I like stuff. So I'm not going to say that I'm not being influenced at any point, but I also have to sit back and think, okay, but like, is that something that actually suits my life? So on the topic of underconsumption core, it's almost like people are trying to role play as someone who has less for a little while until the next trend comes up and, maybe we see the Stanley tumblers again. Who would have thought that that would have taken off, that people would have just been collecting insulated mugs? I think that fear of missing out is also something that is incredibly powerful. And that's why I want to read to you the conclusion from this academic study. And it is from 2023. It is relationships between depression, fear of missing out on and social media addiction, the mediating role of self-esteem. And this is by Massimiliano. All right, so this goes on to say, although the use of the internet and technological communication offers multiple opportunities and benefits, they do not exclude the possibility that some individuals may develop addictive behaviors related to the use of social media. This study focused on depression, fear of missing out, online fear of missing out, and social media addiction, highlighting the impact of self-esteem through a mediation model, which indicates that the relationship between depression and social media addiction is partly mediated by self-esteem. These findings can inform the implementation of preventative interventions more focused on the importance of working on self-esteem levels in order to limit the effect of depression on social media addiction. Finally, the results indicated that among Italian participants between the ages of 18 and 35, younger women and students are more at risk of developing social media addictive behaviors, and preventative interventions should be targeted primarily at those populations. So I do find it very interesting that young women and students are more likely to, experience addiction and fear of missing out. And of course, not all fear of missing out is necessarily directly related to purchasing or to buying. Even as we've seen with the underconsumption idea, it could be convincing you, to throw out all your stuff or to change your diet, to go radically into a different diet that might not be good for your health. These are changes that can have very real risks on your life. As for overconsumption, you could go into debt with credit cards and end up having a hard time getting out of that. For underconsumption, you might throw out things that you actually need. For dietary needs, you might end up on a diet that is not suitable for your health because you are getting this information from your peers who do not have your medical history and don't even know you. So there are so many things that can go wrong when we let the internet and the algorithm dictate what our reality looks like. So I think it is going to be kind of hard for me to summarize this video in one topic. But what I do want to highlight is that your self-esteem and your mental health can be impacted by these applications. They can be impacted by social media, by these peer groups, by these quote unquote influencers. No one would be paying influencers millions of dollars in brand deals if they didn't think that that was working. These companies are putting the money there for a reason. These advertisements work. They convince people to do things. And what are they convincing you to do? To change your lifestyle in some way, to buy something, to change something, to do something differently. And I think there's a danger in that, even if it's something kind of innocuous, because we are taking in these messages and these algorithms instead of our immediate environment, instead of the friends we have, the family we have, our like immediate friend group. Instead, we're watching YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and we're all watching that and really kind of all just plugged into the matrix, getting our daily update of who do we hate today? What's our political view today? And I mean, there are some subsections, but it's like everyone's plugged into their silos. And for those that don't know, silo is a political term for the act of only consuming content that already agrees with your bias. So imagine like a grain silo, you never leave your own little silo. So everybody is siloed in their own little chambers, but within these chambers, like I said, rather than getting these ideas from each other, it's like they're fed into the algorithm and then that algorithm's going to churn out what's trending that day. And, it's both perpetuated by self. People join in on the algorithm because they don't want to get left out, but then things get into the algorithm and they keep repeating. So we might not even really know why we're being influenced. A few people might have liked a video and then YouTube promoted it to the algorithm and it's now on the homepage. So then people think that that's what everyone does. I do think social media algorithms are something that need to be studied far more because they are, and a little bit scary because they have so much power over our society. So just as a little bit of grounding for this video, I want to remind people that social media might just be applications, but it is a way that we interact with this world. So rather than kind of say, oh my God, social media is bad, social media is bad, it's going to make things worse, maybe just be a bit more mindful. Message your friend from high school. Search through the timeline of a family member instead of a TikTok feed. Use these platforms to hook up with the communities that matter to you, your support groups, your friend groups, your gaming groups, things like that. The internet's not all bad. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this video didn't give you any fear of missing out.